Covenant theology is one of the key emphases of Edinburgh Theological Seminary. In a sense, that's not surprising. ETS is a Reformed institution, and covenant theology, also called federal theology, has been a distinctive of Reformed churches from the beginning. So in a sense, that's to be expected. Covenant theology is part of our heritage. But if covenant theology is an emphasis of ETS, it's not purely for historical reasons. We emphasize it because we believe it's biblical, and also because we believe it's profoundly useful. That usefulness can be seen in three ways. First of all, it's theologically useful. Maybe this is the most important. Hebrews tells us that Jesus is the mediator of a new covenant. Our whole salvation is based on Jesus, and the Bible tells us that Jesus' work is a covenantal work. As a specific example, justification is one of the most important aspects of Jesus' work. It's at the heart of the gospel. Justification has traditionally also been one of the most controverted doctrines. It's my conviction that a correct understanding of covenant theology provides a firm foundation for correct understanding of justification. Covenant theology is also hermeneutically useful. In recent times, one trend amongst all sorts of scholars has been the recognition that the whole Bible forms a coherent narrative, beginning in Genesis and ending in Revelation. Covenant theology is hugely helpful in providing a framework that holds that whole story together. We begin with a covenant of works in Genesis, a covenant which Adam broke, and we end in Revelation with a new covenant fulfilled by the last Adam. More specifically, covenant theology helps understand the Mosaic covenant, which can otherwise be difficult. That is, there are passages in the Old Testament which promise material blessing for obedience in a way that we might find surprising. How do we incorporate those into our theology? How do we apply them to people today? Covenant theology is profoundly helpful. Finally, covenant theology is helpful ecclesiastically. What does it mean to be part of the church? How do we understand the doctrines of baptism and the Lord's Supper? Again, covenant theology comes in. The church is God's covenant people. Baptism and the Lord's Supper are signs of the covenant. These are the reasons why covenant theology has been a distinctive of Reformed theology, and they're the reasons why it's a key emphasis in ETS. It's not a single topic that we touch on briefly in one class. We address covenant theology in all of our departments, considering the history of the doctrine, its biblical foundations, its systematic formulation, and its implications for practical theology. I think I can also say that we do so in a cohesive manner. That is, when we discuss covenant theology in biblical studies classes, we do so in a way that's informed by our theology. And when we deal with the doctrine in systematic theology classes, it's a theology that's profoundly exegetical and biblical. And we think this is an approach that furnishes our students with a helpful framework that they can take with them as they go out into ministry, equipping them to do theology, informing how they interpret and preach God's word, and showing them how people ought to conduct themselves in God's household, the church of the living God.